Well, thank you, Tabitha. It's absolutely brilliant to be back here at CogX and to be able to speak to you in the middle of this London Tech Week, one of the most exciting weeks in the year for anybody who cares about the future of the world, who cares about the future of Britain, who cares about making sure that we make the best of the technology that's available. And as Health Secretary, it's a real privilege and an honor to be here to talk not just about what we need to do for our country and what we can contribute to the world, but specifically what we can do to make sure that our NHS is the best in the world at using technology in the years ahead. It's also great to be back amongst my people. As you may know, I'm come from a tech background before I was in politics, and it's great to be back amongst the vibrancy and the enthusiasm and the positive attitude of the people who are building the future of the world. Not a fax machine or a pager in sight. Just lots of unicorns. And believe you me, if you've been stuck in the debate about the future of Brexit over the past few months, you might have heard that there have been a few unicorns that have been promoted. And I say that we need to create more unicorns. I want Britain to be the world leader in unicorns. I want us to be driving ahead and building the great businesses that we can be very proud of. And one of the things that I think London Tech Week does, and the Tech Nation report that was published as part of it, is serve as an annual reminder of how important it is that this country remains and constantly seeks to improve how it is a pro-business, pro-enterprise, pro-entrepreneur, pro-aspiration society. That we build an economy that is based on giving everybody the opportunity to turn an idea into a business and turn a business into a global success. And how we have to win this constant battle to explain to people that the reason that business is not just a good and useful thing to do, but is deeply morally right, is because business done right is a force for good and is ultimately about solving somebody else's problems so well that they're prepared to pay you. And I want Britain to be defined in the years ahead as the most pro-enterprise, pro-startup place in the world. And sometimes politicians talk about how we want this place to be the best place in the world to start and grow a business, and it's true. But it's important that we don't just talk about it, and instead we get on and make the actions, take the actions that are necessary to make it happen. We need to define Britain in the years ahead as an open, outward-looking, internationally engaged, globally leading society where we win the case for free enterprise and for a free society from the shrill voices of both the political left and right who would seek to complain about progress. And I want to talk a little bit today about how we do that. And I think that my responsibilities as the Health Secretary, Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, are a really good place to start. Because we deal every day in improving lives and saving lives. It's all about trying to ensure there's a focus not just on treating illness, but on preventing illness. And the technology that improves lives in health has perhaps the most direct impact on the well-being of the population who we serve than anything else. I think to the example that some of you may have seen recently of a brilliant British company called Give Vision. I don't know if any of you have come across Give Vision before, but this one example highlights the power of technology to improve people's lives. Give Vision have designed software for goggles that can take people who have a tiny spot of vision, meaning that they are effectively without vision now. They can't read, find it very difficult to see anything at all. And by using a camera and projecting correctly onto this tiny bit of sight that's left, they can give people back the gift of sight. And when you see people put these goggles on for the first time, usually after a degenerative eye illness that has gradually over time reduced their sight, and you see the emotional reaction, the first moment that they can read again, the first moment that they can see the faces of their loved ones, the power of technology to do good, and the power of British companies to invent technology that through the entire time of human history people have dreamt of and wanted, to bring back the gift of sight. That is a moment when we can truly say that technology is a force for good and that business is a force for good because it is improving people's lives. I want to talk a little bit today about how we make sure we win this argument. Because winning the argument amongst the population is as important for winning the argument for free enterprise as actually delivering. I think that we have to deliver these improvements. We can and we must. But we've also got to win the argument. And events like CogX and London Tech Week are incredibly important in doing that. It's not good enough simply to say and to deliver the improvements in technology, the improvements in the use of data, the artificial intelligence, the emerging technologies. It's not good enough just to develop them. We've also got to win the argument for how you do it and why we care about it. Taking people with us, talking in a language that people understand, using emotional intelligence to explain artificial intelligence, and talk in a way that reassures people about the importance and the value of the technologies that you're developing and we're developing here in Britain. We've got a duty to harness this in order to win the argument so we can keep creating the jobs of tomorrow for the next generation, and of course supporting our economy and public services that keep our country strong. Now, I've spent the last year as Health Secretary, and having come before that from the tech side of things, one of the things I can tell you for sure is that there are two different cultures and two different languages. In technology, the mantra of old, of course, is to move fast and break things. In health, that's not such a good mantra all the time, like if you're an orthopedic surgeon, for example. In technology, you put out a prototype, you refine it as you go along, we have an iterative process, everybody learning from their mistakes. In health, mistakes cost lives. And in the development of pure healthcare like pharmaceuticals, the precautionary principle rightly lives large. So there's legitimate reasons for these two cultures. I'm not going to argue that these two cultures are wrong. And I'm not going to argue that they're incompatible. They are. I'm going to argue that it is difficult to bring them together and important that we do. If you try to take the best ideas out of the tech world into the health world, new ideas, the innovation, challenging the status quo, thinking big, and trying to move fast and throw things at the wall and try a change and see how it works. This is important. And the world of healthcare can learn a lot from you. But there's also things that the tech world can and should learn from healthcare. For instance, doctors and nurses are experts in communicating complex scientific information in a way that people can understand. They talk about technology and treatments in human terms. They are totally focused on the user need, on the patient, what it means for an individual, for a family member, for a loved one. And partly because often they're taking life and death decisions, and it's not always good news, they really understand how to reassure people that what is happening is the best way forward, even if it's difficult. So if we think ahead to winning the argument for the use of artificial intelligence and other cutting-edge technologies, asking this question, what does AI mean for me, my job, my community? What's the sort of society that we're building using these technologies? Answering these questions openly, honestly, urgently is incredibly important. And we can't just take trust for granted. And if you want a proof point for that, look at this. Many people of my generation thought that we'd won the argument for free markets, that the case for capitalism was so obvious in the living standards that are rising right across the world. The fact that free markets have brought more people out of poverty globally than any other innovation in the history of humanity. We thought that that case had been won. But it's mission critical to make that case all over again for a new generation of people. And we've got to be honest about the potential and also the consequences of new technology, and make sure that the technology is harnessed and hewn to the benefit of humanity, and that people feel a sense of control. That means getting the ethics right. Many, many people have talked about that. But it also means selling the positive story as strongly as we possibly can. Creating an ecosystem that is effective and safe, and where the rules and the norms are ones that are broadly supported. I would give you 5 founding principles on how we do this. Firstly, building strong foundations with clear codes of conduct and about data-driven innovations. The rules are important both in spirit and in the letter. Second, creating a system where we know who is building what and what it's going to deliver. When there's cutting-edge innovations, we need to make sure that they bring the broad support, and you can only do that with the right level of transparency and therefore the trust that comes with it. 3, working with existing workforces so we listen to what their needs are and so that we bring them along with us, especially when there's a big disruption to a whole industry. 4th, modeling and monitoring the impact of new technologies so we continually refine and improve them. This is especially important in health. Constantly understanding in a data-driven way, the impact of new technology. It is not enough to be an enthusiast about new tech. We need to make sure we measure its benefits. And that way also we can improve the rollout across the system. And 5th, creating partnerships. And this is where the ecosystem building really matters. Creating partnerships, connecting, for instance, in my world, connecting the NHS, the Royal Colleges, academia, business, innovators wherever we find them. And let me just apply this directly. I want the NHS to be a world leader in data-driven healthcare. That means that we've got to do some things too. We've got to change the way that we fund tech and we reward innovation in the NHS. We've got to make sure that the amazing capabilities of the data that's held within the NHS both retains the trust of patients by having the highest of standards for privacy, for cybersecurity, but also can be used in a way that supports innovation with a porous border between the NHS and the outside world. We want to work with you, with tech innovators, to come up with better ways of incentivizing safe, evidence-based machine learning technologies across the NHS. And we need to be more open to new ideas from the outside. And whether somebody is already working in the NHS or whether they aspire to in the future, we need to make sure that there is that free flow of ideas and that the way that the intellectual property is managed is handled in a way that is appropriate and well designed. So these two worlds, these two different cultures, the culture of healthcare and the culture of technology, two different languages, two different words in some cases, in the NHS going viral isn't a good thing. But we have one mission, and the mission is technology that makes life better for patients, for staff, technology that saves time and saves lives. And I come to this final point, and it's something that we should all, as enthusiasts for technology, concentrate on all of the time. There's a reason that we care about the technology. There's a reason we care about the technology. We care about technology because we care about people. The fundamental belief that every single person can make a contribution, the fundamental belief that we can bring technology to improve people's lives. Yes, the economic statistics will be better as a result of the brilliant UK tech industry, but ultimately it's about improving people's lives. I'm optimistic for the future of this country because I'm optimistic for the people of this country. And I believe that it's the role of government to unlock that potential that every single person has. We can and we must harness the power of technology to do this and master it, bend it to our benefit, to make sure that it serves society. Not move fast and break things, but move fast and make things happen. That's my motto, and I look forward to working with all of you in making it happen. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Matt. And in the spirit of move fast and make things happen, a lot of people are actually about to go to the NHS X stage, the health stage up at the Tower Yard. So I'm not going to get to ask you all the questions that I wanted to, but I can't actually let you leave unless you tell us how are we going to make all of those things possible, and with the threat of a no-deal Brexit over our heads.
Wow. Well, thanks for bringing the B word into things. It is absolutely vital that we drive forward these innovations on the domestic agenda, and that we move forward as a country, and that we get onto all the brilliant things that we can do that we're talking about here today. Go to the NHS X stage. NHS X is designed as an institution to capture the sorts of ideas that are generated at CogX and make them happen in reality. And on Brexit, since you raise it, it is not, in my view, Britain that's broken. It's British politics that's stuck in a rut, and we urgently need to get moving. And we can only get moving by delivering Brexit on a deal and then casting forward. That's why I'm standing to be the next Prime Minister. And we know that the idea of leaving without a deal has been rejected before and stopped by Parliament. And today, we see another attempt by Parliament to stop no deal. And so the idea of leaving with no deal is not a policy option available to the next Prime Minister. No deal is not an option. And the risk that is run by attempting to leave without a deal is that Parliament will stop it, and there's a risk of political consequences as a result. I think that the vote today that we're going to see in Parliament just shows the risk of trying to leave without a deal, and it shows that the best future for Britain is to be an open, outward-looking, internationally engaged country, engaged with ideas and people from right around the world. And the best way through that is to deliver with a deal, and then we can all move forwards.
Thank you, Matt. Let's move fast and make good things happen. Thank you, everybody.